Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Press YYZ, your favorite Canadian gaming podcast. We're the only Canadian gaming podcast that you can catch live on Twitch every Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, as well as on podcast services and YouTube every Thursday. My name is Alexander Kazina, and I'm joined today by the one and only illustrious AJ Fraser.
Hey, hi, howdy.
And the credibly incredible and totally credible Mr. Mitch George.
Avengers is back!
I was real concerned for a sec there. Real concerned for
bad? I can't believe it's bad.
I love it. I'm so happy. It's so good.
I was real concerned for a second there that your mic was muted, Mitch, but that would appear to not be the case.
Pause for effect, as it were.
Yeah. Before we get started, a reminder as always that we here at Press YYZ stand against discrimination of any kind. While I appreciate however you choose to give back to our show, there's no better way to support us than by being excellent to each other. A little bit of housekeeping to get out of the way right off the bat. Nathan, who is not joining us tonight but is very much still in our hearts, is going to be hosting a Fall Guys stream tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST. So if you enjoy the Fall Guys, if you enjoy just watching people fall down, regardless and irrespective of the video game of the same name, be sure to tune into that. All right, well, let's get on right today with today's show. Typically on Press YYZ, we typically tend to have some sort of particular topic or subject or little game show that we tend to engage in for the laughs and chortles and guffaws. Today, though, we're pretty much going to be more or less talking about what we've been playing, which includes a little game that one Mr. Mitch George made sure to bring up right at the start of the show. And that game being Marvel's Avengers by Crystal Dynamics.
I'm just going to mute my mic. You guys go for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not playing it right now as we record this show, except my controller died and I don't know why. I got to figure that out.
Were you like using like remote play on your phone?
No, I thought it was plugged in. All right, I'm going to figure this out. You start talking about what you liked about Avengers. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah, so, man, where to begin? See, here's the problem, right? I've been gone from this show for a couple of weeks now. One, because the prior episode didn't happen, and then two, because the episode before that, I was out and about celebrating my mother's birthday. And so I've really not had an opportunity on this show to kind of talk about my resurgence with this game. Long story short, the Avengers like quadruple XP weekend happened a little while ago, and it's like, you know what? I just beat Kingdom Hearts, A Melody of Memories, or maybe it's Memory of Melody, whatever it is. And I'm looking for another good game to kind of grind in. And I saw, Avengers PS4 sitting in my PS5's hard drive, and I figured, why not give this another go? And I don't know what it was, but that quadruple XP weekend, it was just a light switch. I started playing, and I couldn't stop playing. And I realized right then and there, oh shit, the War for Wakanda DLC coming up in a couple of weeks from now. If I want to play this in its full glorious resolution on PlayStation 5, the only thing that I can do right now to ensure that my experience comes together there is to platinum this game as fast as possible so that I can pop that double plat on the PS5. And so, yeah, pretty much the entirety of the past 2+ weeks since that quadruple XP weekend have been me grinding like hell in Marvel's Avengers. I was really concerned I wasn't going to get the 50 Hives trophy, which is the last big grindy trophy that you need to get that platinum, but I'm happy to report 2 days before War for Wakanda dropped, I managed to pop that plat. I transferred my save to PlayStation 5, I popped the double plat, and yeah, I jumped into the War for Wakanda DLC just yesterday, and I'm happy to report that it too is a good time. A lot of people have been attributing, I think, a degree of savior status to this DLC. They've been wondering, could this be the Taken King of Marvel's Avengers? Could this be the expansion that really kind of like solidifies everything that's good about the game, irons out some of the yuckiness, and, really shows why this is a contender to consider within the games as a service market? And time will tell whether that's what War for Wakanda ends up being. But I will say, at least for now, that I think viewed on its own merits, it's a good, fun 4-hour story expansion set within Wakanda. I think its single greatest fault is that it is ultimately 4.5 hours, which I know on this show, I am famous / infamous for constantly, praising games for being incredibly short and getting incredibly exasperated with games for being incredibly long. But this is one of those instances where I kind of wish that we'd had a little bit more time to let some of the characters and the world of Wakanda breathe here, because I feel like the lore is very kind of rich, and it's too bad that we didn't get a little bit more of it. But I'm interested to hear what you think, Mitch.
I got my controller charging, so I've been playing this whole time while you were talking. I can't put it down. I will actually put it down so I can talk to you about this. But it's not a great game. It's a good game depending on what you're doing, and I've talked about this a lot. I think specifically with for me, it's like it's popcorn. This is a popcorn game for me. I've just put it on. I have fun picking a superhero and beating some bad guys up, and rinse and repeat, beat up the same bad guys to level up gear, or whatever the case might be. I really enjoyed the War for Wakanda story content, so much so that I streamed it before we started this, because I wanted to finish it, but I wanted to finish it on stream. I got like 2 missions from the end of it last night when I streamed it, and then finished it just before we started recording the show. I enjoy the story they told. I love the banter between T'Challa and Cap and Iron Man, because there is some contention there. He isn't like super buddy, even though, I mean, he's in the Avengers at this point, like he's in the game, so he's gonna be sticking around and part of the story content moving ahead, which is one of my concerns about Spider-Man whenever that materializes. And I know people, the whole Twitch chat for the war table on this game was like, where's Spider-Man? Where's Spider-Man? It's coming. It'll be here eventually. Just relax. It's coming. It's contractually obligated to come out for this game. But I worry how they're going to weave that character into the story if that character can only be on PlayStation. That's some of my favorite stuff about this game.
I'm curious to get your perspective on this. Like, do you think that when they introduce Spider-Man, it's going to be akin to something like Uncharted Lost Legacy, where Lost Legacy was originally promised as being something like more akin to a more traditional DLC experience? It was meant to be a little bit smaller scale, and then they kind of ballooned it up into this bigger thing. Or do you think that what we're going to get with Spider-Man is going to be pretty small scale per what Crystal Dynamics originally promised?
It kind of has to be. I don't see it being a large integrated part of the game, similar like with what we got with Black Panther. I'm even smiling a lot because
I love that AJ's
just given up and started playing Skate. Yeah, that's okay. I don't think they can integrate him into the game the way they've done the other characters, just because without being able to tell that story across multiple consoles, there's no story to tell. So I'm kind of concerned that it's going to come out and kind of fall flat and people are going to get upset. But based on the way it was contractually obligated to be in the game, there's not much else Crystal could do with it in this situation. That being said, going back to War for Wakanda, it's definitely content that's worth playing. The story they tell is really good. Christopher Judge, best known for playing Kratos in the 2017 God of War game, is absolutely phenomenal as T'Challa here. I do see the game, like initially when this game was announced, like, no, these are our Avengers. They're different from what you would expect from the MCU. And I feel like at this point, like they're going to start doubling down on MCU references, because when I was playing through just some standard missions with T'Challa to level him up, every third line was like Wakanda forever. And I don't know about you, but I have bought with the in-game credits I've earned 2 of the MCU skins for like the end-game skins for Iron Man and for Cap. And I'm very tempted to buy the Marvel's Avengers, or like Marvel Studios Avengers skin for Captain America from like Avengers 1. I feel like they're going to double down on that stuff, because I feel like that's making them the most money in the game at this point, is tie-ins to other stuff. Not necessarily them just putting in, hey, it's Party Thor, or it's Gladiator Hulk that doesn't quite tie into his look from Ragnarok. I think if the Gladiator outfit had been Hulk from Ragnarok, it would have made them a ton more money.
For the record, I have not spent any money on any of the in-game currency. I have acquired some of the in-game currency normally by filling out some of the character cards.
Challenge
cards, challenge cards, correct. But I have not physically forked over, digitally forked over.
Digitally given Crystal Moore your money. Yeah, for me, I haven't either. I've just been playing through the challenge cards, and I've used the proceeds from the 6 challenge cards that are in the game where you can earn, I can't do the math, but a lot of credits, enough so that I've not had to pay for the challenge cards for Hawkeye, for Kate Bishop, or for Black Panther, as well as, investing in some of the premium suits that you can only get through the store. So I've really, I found a way, the game is grindy. There's no debating that this game is a grind if you want to get stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't hate the grind because I like the mindlessness of just being a superhero and beating up on bad guys. And I think that what they delivered here with War for Wakanda was interesting, an interesting story. It does some different things with the Black Panther mythology. And I'm excited to see what they do more with Christopher Judge and the rest of the voice cast as we move into the future of Marvel's Avengers and whatever we're going to get as the big year 2 expansion and the year 2 characters. Because all we really know at this point is that Spider-Man is coming eventually.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there's some content planned, but the big thing for the fall was War for Wakanda. So,
yeah, I hear that if you enter the room of I forget his name. He's the priest-like character within the Wakandan
Magic
emissary.
Man.
Yeah, if you enter into his room, there's a chance that the game will glitch out and he'll greet an Avenger that has not yet joined the cast.
Interesting.
Yeah. You go and look up some, I won't spoil who, but you can go up and look up some videos on Twitter of people accidentally triggering some interactions that they were not supposed to trigger.
Well, I know what I'm doing right now.
Earlier you mentioned this game being a lot like popcorn. I feel like that's a pretty apt analogy if you think of something like Destiny or Final Fantasy XIV being something like quiche, for example, where a quiche is a pretty balanced meal where you have greenery, you have eggs, you have salt and spices. It's not necessarily the healthiest thing for you, but it's also decently nutritious and balanced in terms of its makeup. Something like popcorn is not very healthy for you, and it's fairly kind of basic, but you can't deny the buttery, salty goodness of popcorn. And in Avengers, the buttery saltiness is how good playing as the Avengers feels. I remember in the lead up to this game's release, it felt like there were so many op-eds and think pieces and YouTube videos of people being like, oh man, Thor's not going to feel as good as Kratos felt in God of War 2018 with his Leviathan axe that he could retract and throw at a moment's notice. And it's no, he doesn't feel as good as Kratos in God of War 2018, but honestly, he still feels pretty damn good, as do most of the other Avengers and as does T'Challa himself. And coming back to this game during the quadruple XP weekend rather, that's I'd say really kind of what made me fall in love with this game all over again.
Yeah, and they've kept the double XP after that weekend, so I think if you're thinking about hopping back into Marvel's Avengers, now is a great time, both with the Black Panther content and the fact they've made it easier to level up. Friend of ours, Matt from Assemble, actually put up a really good tutorial video on how to quickly level your Black Panther to 50. There's one mission you can kind of repeat the first checkpoint of and earn you can earn a level in 2 runs of it, and each run takes about 2-3 minutes. So that's what I was cheesing at the end of my stream to continue to level up my T'Challa. So there's definitely incentives to come back now and to play the game a little bit. But AJ, you're playing something, and it's not your face here talking to us about video games. So what's up?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah, there we. It screwed up my camera.
Man. Oh wow, he looks like death. That's cool.
Yep.
You're one of the creatures from Eco that you and the girl have to avoid.
That's me. Surprise.
Before we get into the game that you were playing a little bit in the background, I do want to ask, and I figure that I feel like we probably asked this question quite a few times on this show by now. did our extended conversation make you at all interested in the prospect of going and playing Marvel's Avengers?
Is it out on Game Pass?
It should be. And even if it were, we wouldn't play with you because we're all playing on PlayStation.
Yeah, no, that's stupid. But yeah,
crossplay should have been a thing in this game.
Yeah, to me, like even the little bit that I played at the very beginning during like one of the betas that they had last summer, that to me seems like a very good Game Pass game. Like you at the start of you guys talking there, Mitch, you mentioned that it's like it's good, but it's not like great.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect place for something to go to Game Pass. So that's just me though.
No, I feel like it will. I feel like it will eventually. I feel like their marketing relationship with PlayStation kind of has to do its like play itself out, because it did come to PlayStation Now. You could have played it on PlayStation Now, but no, someone has to have Game Pass.
More like PlayStation No.
I mean, it works. It works well, especially on PS4 games. The problem is with that one, you can't get the PS5 version.
The only thing I've ever played on PlayStation Now was Tokyo Jungle. Yeah.
Oh.
I played a little bit of that, but that was like years ago. And it worked surprisingly well. It didn't catch on until other people started doing it for some reason.
Well, that also would have been cloud, not direct down.
It would have been fully cloud too. Yeah.
The only games I ever played on PlayStation Now were Alone in the Dark Inferno, the 2008 Alone in the Dark game, and Barbie and her sister's Puppy Rescue, both for trophies. And I only played.
I think I played Ratchet and Clank All for One that way, but I never finished it because I don't do that very often with games.
I honestly have not checked out PlayStation Now's library in quite some time. For all I know, there's actually a couple of games on there I might want to play, but just no real obligation, honestly.
I've got a gift card for, I think it's 3 months that I'm going to use, but I need to wait until PS5 games come to the service, because otherwise I don't see the point in it just being PS4 titles if I'm paying for this thing every month.
All right, AJ. We held back long enough. Tell us why Skate Period is the game that is one to play in this year of our Lord 2021.
Yeah, so just by the random chance, so like Skate 3 has been available on Game Pass for a while, right? Yeah. And I never got around to it. But then like a week or two ago, they announced that, hey, the original Skate is going to be available on Game Pass now. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, why not? The last time I've ever actually played Skate is specifically because on the 360 there were a shit ton of demos back in those days, back in the good old days.
Back in my day.
And I played the shit out of the original Skate demo. It was like really good.
Game itself also really good.
Yeah, it's think of it like the Forza, not to Forza like Tony Hawk's Forza Horizon, although I really want to play that game now. But Tony Hawk is more like a Burnout arcade style as opposed to a Forza Horizon arcade style, where it's an actual simulator. And there's a lot of, when you play a game that has a skateboard, if you played a lot of Tony Hawk even growing up, there's a lot of muscle memory that you have to relearn, because this game uses is almost exclusively to do tricks the right stick, right? And you have to flick the stick in different directions in order to get it to the board to do a flip trick or something like that. And you use the triggers to grab, and the X and A buttons control which foot is pushing. Me wanting to play the original Skate also comes hot off the heels of me getting moderately invested in the Olympic skateboarding that happened a
That
few
was
weeks
cool.
ago.
Yeah.
Rachel and I watched we watched a lot of the women's skateboarding specifically, just because it was just super cool to see women getting into a more male dominated sports these days. Like, yes, in like the old Tony Hawk Pro Skater days, we had like Alyssa Steamer and women like that, but like the fact that a 13-year-old Japanese girl won a gold medal at the Olympics, that was fucking rad.
That's one of those things where, to just interject for a moment, like, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, a lot of calls, particularly within Japan, to see the Olympics postponed further or canceled. And it's moments like that where it's like, for all the problems with the Olympics, if it had been canceled outright, you would have never had an opportunity like that for something like that to happen. Like, that is a once in a lifetime thing that is real magical and special amidst all the problems with the event itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's to the point where like a lot of my like 50% of my YouTube recommendations are now video games, and the other 50% are now like not only just Tony Hawk clips, but like other skateboarders and like the whatever channel it is that does do a kickflip, right? Where they drive around LA yelling, do a kickflip at people, and then they give them merch. It's just, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like reinvigorated the idea of skateboarding, like much like last year with Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake did for Nathan. This kind of like, I went to Walmart and bought a whole bunch of tech decks.
Of course, you did.
Just because, well, I don't want to kill myself and get a real skateboard.
You're an adult. You have adult responsibilities, but you can spend money on tech decks.
I could spend what was it, like $20 on a group of 6 different tech decks and 2 sets of trucks and a bunch of different wheel colors, and hell yeah. So on a good year where the Olympics are not a controversy, a lot of people
does that ever happen?
Not in the same amount.
No.
I mean, you want to talk about Olympic controversy, just go look at whatever the hell flag Russia plays under now, because they can't be, they're not allowed to be to compete as Russia. It is something else because of that whole doping scandal from a few Olympics ago. But the Olympics can do some pretty cool things, and the fact that they've allowed now skateboarding, because it was in Japan, this was I think one of the only years that there's ever going to be baseball, Olympic baseball, because Japan loves baseball. But also there was like surfing and shit, and so that, I don't know, it was an inspired choice to down, and like a perfect I don't know, perfect storm of
almost.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, like a perfect storm of just things happening in the world to get me to download Skate again and just sort of give it a go. Finally, after all, Game Pass, it's great.
Just because it doesn't have Marvel's Avengers doesn't mean you can't. You have to give it a hard time, right? It's got some good games in there too.
Yeah, debatable.
No, and it's interesting too that they're doing this now with this game as opposed to holding some of this buzz for whenever it is that they end up releasing the new Skate, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because like that's also been like a meme for years now at this point. Just commenting on anything EA puts out and just Skate 4. It's like,
but now it's going to be update on Skate 4, update on Skate 4, update on Skate 4.
Exactly. Skateboarding's cool.
Hell yeah.
It's really
Agreed.
Cool. Skateboarding's not a crime. or
Nope.
is it?
It depends on what you're doing. I know my elementary school had to do it when they rebuilt the school when I was in like 7th grade. And they had to install like those skate guards on all the rails out in front of the school because they were worried all the hooligans were going to come and skateboard on their brand new garden and stuff. It was a thing.
Jerks.
I mean, I don't skateboard. I can barely balance. I don't even know how to ride a bike. So,
I want to go ahead and I want to just take a quick second to mention that since last time we all podcasted together, I managed to complete Halo 2. It's been so long since I beat that game that it feels like a millennia ago. It feels like I've already talked about it on the show, but I don't believe I did formally talk about it on the show. Long story
How do you
short,
feel about it?
I mean, I enjoyed that game tremendously more than the first Halo. I thought it was a tremendous step up, and I thought every single level managed to do something that, you know, didn't make me out loud go, wow, that's amazing, but internally made me go, wow, that was pretty good. You know, honestly, like, I would not necessarily rank the game on my top, 10, 20, 30 games of all time list, and honestly, I probably never will, because I think it is one of those things where I feel like I had to be there in the moment. But playing through it from front to back, I definitely could understand the kind of fervor that people had for the game leading up to release and at the time of its release. And I thought it was like, I feel like nowadays it's like video games where you're presented with a bait and switch and you're, thrust into the role of a character that you wouldn't expect to play as are, somewhat commonplace. You look at something like The Last of Us Part 2, for example. But I feel like back in the day, like, making it so that you not only play as half of Halo 2's campaign as Arbiter, but literally the last level of the game and the final boss is fought through as Arbiter as well. That was a pretty bold and inspired choice, and I feel like they, a few small tiny little glitches aside, which I caught on stream, was executed really well.
Yeah. Halo 2 was my very first midnight release. I know we spoke about midnight releases on a previous episode of the show. And it released on a school night, and I got all the way up to the main scarab fight at the beginning there, before I was yelled at from upstairs to get to bed because it's a school night, and I wasn't going to be able to take the day off. But
I want to key off that for a second, because I just put in my vacation request at work for the rest of the year. Are we living now in the golden age where we can just kind of take the time off that we want to play video games?
Oh, hell yeah.
Because I had extra days. I'm like, Pokemon's coming out November 19th. Sure shit, I'm taking that day off and streaming it all goddamn day.
I've got like a week left of vacation this year. And if I don't use it for whatever, like, medical reasons that I might need or something like that, like, there's nothing else happening this year. We're still in a pandemic. I fully intend to try and use that for Halo Infinite when that comes out. So
yeah, I definitely I have like almost just under 2 weeks, and I'm just like, all right, gonna take some time at the holidays, some time around our planned wedding reception, if that even happens this year, who knows. And then I'm like, all right, I got some extra days. I'm like, all right, I'll take a Friday here, a Friday there. Oh yeah, Pokemon. Let's just take a day off for Pokemon, because who doesn't want to just sit there and play Pokemon from? Yeah, I'm probably gonna play it from midnight until I beat the game, to be honest. Because why not?
Yeah,
I'm an adult. I make adult decisions, and sometimes those are stupid ass decisions. But I'm still gonna have a damn good time with it.
If you're having fun, it's not a bad decision, unless somebody's getting hurt. There you go.
Halo 2.
Halo 2, we did it.
Yeah. I do want to just say briefly, one thing I really appreciate about this game, particularly the further I went into it, is how many levels involve 2 or 3 factions all fighting each other all at once. Because as somebody that's not, who I would consider to be pretty good at shooters, but maybe not amazing at Halo, I appreciated being thrust into combat scenarios where I could kind of choose how much I wanted to engage in them.
You could You could sit back and then let them
kill
take
each
each other out,
Right.
thin each other out a bit, and then
Yeah.
do it from there.
Or if I wanted to be a commando, I could, play a more active role in the battle. And
Yeah.
there were definitely a few instances towards the end of the game where I'm like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards what Bungie did with this game, but I do kind of want to move on and get to the next big set piece / cutscene. And I appreciate that I can kind of just skirt around the Flood and the Covenant in this section.
I mean, that's kind of what's interesting about the Halo series is that it's one of the few like non-linear, linear, but linear with choice. It's hard to really put a word to it, but it gives you the ability to play the game the way you want to and doesn't force you down one scripted path, even though it kind of does eventually. But I quite like that because I mean, I've been playing through a bit of Halo 4 and a bit of Master Chief Collection with friends, which, oh my God, did we have some fun times playing some custom games in Halo Reach and Master Chief Collection. But playing through Halo 4, running into some of these same instances of, okay, multiple factions, and I can kind of chill, or I can be sneaky, or I can go in and get myself killed, which is how I play Halo because I die a lot. But it's great being given that player agency. I think it's something that Halo does really well.
Absolutely.
On the subject of Halo, AJ, you've also been playing a very Halo-inspired game that I know Nathan has also been up to quite a bit recently by the name of Splitgate.
Yeah, Mitch, have you given this a shot yet?
I've got it downloaded. I was talking to Alex earlier about it, and he really wants to play with people. I'm just like, yeah, you tell me when I'm in. Like,
he has been big into it.
Game.
Yeah, he has been big into it. And the first day I tried, I wasn't necessarily that big into it. Because I was just like, so the comparison people make is it's Halo with portals, right? Which, that's exactly kind of what they're going for, right? But me being a big Halo fan, it doesn't feel that much like Halo, so I wasn't that into it at first, right? But then kind of the more I've been playing, like the more I'm kind of seeing the similarities in that regard, and the more I'm kind of like really feeling it. But also, the more I play, the higher my rank gets, even in casual matches, and unfortunately, as you can see by this clip on the screen, teabagging, you can still do that very well, and that's as you should, especially when you win.
I thought your capture card was jittering out. I was
internally
being very generous towards you.
I think the worst thing Halo ever introduced to the gaming community was teabagging.
Disagree. I think it's great. It's good fun. But no, the very first day that I was playing it, people were just playing it as a shooter, and I felt like I knew the secret, and that secret was I need to put a portal behind these guys and start shooting them from behind through the portal. And so that's kind of exactly what I started doing. And I at one point I had like an 18 to kill death ratio, and it was absolutely phenomenal. The one of the key mechanics in terms of the portals specifically is you can see through your own portal, but you can't see through anybody else's portal. You can see if there is a teammate's portal, because that'll be a specific color, and the enemy portals will be a red color. If an enemy is standing on the opposite side of a portal, then that portal starts flashing. You can't see through it, but you can shoot through it, and you can absolutely take people out that way. It adds a really good, interesting, and unique level of strategy that people aren't always prepared for. Although the more that I play recently, they're getting way too smart for their own good when it comes to the portals, and
So what I'm hearing is that my time to be any good at this game is passing, and I shouldn't even give it a chance.
No, I'm saying you need to play it right now.
All right.
Fuck Avengers. Play Splitgate until Halo Infinite comes out. Because in this clip right here, I'm about to wipe the entire team with the oddball. It's literally called oddball, just like in Halo. And I got 4 kills in a row. They just came around the corner and just beat down.
I gotta say, like, these Splitgate clips and the the skate period clips from earlier are the goofus and gallant of clips that we've shown off on this channel, because those skate clips, you were just getting into all sorts of foibles and troubles, and these Splitgate clips, you're really dominating the competition.
It depends on the situation, but yeah, like with skate specifically, what I tend to do is when I very rarely in skate do I pull off a really good maneuver and do good tricks because it is a simulator and it's very tough. And so when if I fuck up real good and fall down, I will absolutely record that. There's something about the what is it? The slapstick like nature of skateboarding, where the jackass nature of it, right? Where you're just gonna fall off a board or something, and that's more interesting. Whereas in Splitgate, you want to, you got a pretty sweet double kill, like jumping through a portal and get to one side. You took somebody out, you jump back through, you put the portal somewhere else, and you jump through again, and it creates a super cool dynamic in Splitgate that I'm really surprised it just didn't happen earlier, to be honest.
To that point, I was talking with you a little bit about this before the show. Like, Portal meets Halo is one of those video game concepts that you would expect would have already been conceived at some point in the future. That, AJ, as you were describing it, like, this sounds like something that somebody would have made in a mod that they would have like published this scene at some point in the past that would have gotten written up on Kotaku and would have gotten some eyes on it and then would have gone nowhere. And it's cool that, this game is real, that this game is being played by a ton of people, and that it really seems like it has legs and has quite a future ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think it looks kind of ugly, but it seems to be like it's a small team or whatever who, put everything they had into it. Like from like the main menu and everything, like it doesn't look good. It it looks, from the menu perspective, it looks free to play. They're not necessarily shoving, buy the pay currency coins, buy them. They're not doing like shoving those down your throat necessarily, but they are, they are there, and it definitely feels free to play in that regard. But once you get playing, it feels like something special. So
cool. Mitch.
Sir.
I'd been meant to bring this up earlier, but I feel like we kind of strung along from conversation, talking about Marvel, talking about skate period, talking about Kingdom Hearts, Halo, Splitgate. And so I want to give you the opportunity now to talk a little bit about yourself, Disney Plus, and us.
Oh, yeah. So announced this week, I've been a guest on Disney Plus Us a few times now. I think we did Iron Man, we did Imagineering Story, we did Luca, and we did Black Widow, or the 4. And Griffin was nice enough to say, hey, having someone else here would really help. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So starting this week, I'm officially his new co-host over on Disney Plus Us. We put out 2 new episodes on Tuesday. 1 hour review of Walt Disney Studios Jungle Cruise, which is spoiler free up to a point. So give the movie a watch, then give that a listen, as well as so that comes out every other week. We have a guest on. We talk for a couple of hours about any and everything. Pick a thing from Disney Plus, watch it, talk about it. It's a good time. And we're also going to be doing shorter weekly content starting this week with Marvel Studios' What If. So the first episode of Disney Plus Us, focusing on the Captain Carter episode, came out on Tuesday, and look forward to seeing this week's episode on T'Challa becoming Star-Lord, probably Thursday, aka tomorrow if you're watching this live. So do go check that out anywhere you do listen to your podcast. We really do appreciate it. And I'm grateful that Griffin's happy to have me on and talk about Disney, because I have another Disney rant to go on if you're ready for it.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, you're still obviously totally free to talk as much about everything coming to Disney Plus on this podcast.
Oh, that's the plan.
But I am also at the same time happy that you found a place on this show, because obviously this is a show that I think we can all agree seems very much tailor-made for you. So congratulations on that. With that out of the way, go ahead.
Disney Parks, roughly when we went live, announced that they are discontinuing the Fast Pass program at Walt Disney World and the whatever it's called in California, and replacing it with a paid service, which is going to be called Genie Plus, using the likeness of Robin Williams' Genie from the 1992 movie Aladdin. And I am not about this. It is $15 a day now to do Fast Passes in either California or Walt Disney World Resort, whereas before in Disney World it was included for free, and at Land I don't know what was going on there, but I'm pissed because this was something that was part of the magic of going to Disney, of picking these rides ahead of time, not having to worry about the lines or any of that. And now you're paying $15 a day per person to pre-register for attractions, and there are some attractions that won't even be in that, and you can pay an extra premium on top of that to ride attractions that are like their premium ones. And I'm pissed because Disney parks are losing their magic, and I don't like it. And
everything is a subscription service.
It's all shitting on the grave of Robin Williams, which is not cool. This is everything he didn't want his character being used for in the parks. Yeah. Rant over.
That took a darker turn than I was expecting, to be honest.
You didn't expect me to mention the memory of Robin Williams?
Well, no, it's just like, obviously, Mitch, you've been critical many a times on the show in the past about things that are yucking your yum. But I thought in relation to Disney Plus that you'd have nothing but, glowing superlatives to say. I hope that I pronounced that last word right, by the way.
It was pretty good. I have nothing against Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus is a fantastic service, and I think it's probably the best value in streaming right now, just in terms of the quality of original content that we're getting. I'm kind of disappointed that they're continuing with Disney Plus Premier Access for titles, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that won't feel comfortable going to see Shang-Chi in theaters when that comes out beginning of September. That being said, I got my tickets for IMAX, and I'm really excited to go and see that. But this one kind of really ruffles my feathers, because it was I remember back to planning the trip that I went on to get engaged to my now wife, and we were camping one weekend for a friend's birthday, and we had to drive into the town, and this is going to be the most Canadian thing in the world. We had to drive into town from the campsite to go to Tim Hortons because we needed stable Wi-Fi to go in and make our was it 60 days out? You get to reserve your ride times, and it's just included if you're staying at the resorts on the property. And now that's going to be only a paid service. Like most other theme parks do it that way. But it was part of what made Disney parks different, specifically Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. And it's something important to me because it's part of how I got engaged to my wife. So I'm just kind of pissed that they're kind of taking what the parks were lauded for and kind of throwing it out with the bathwater. Disney Plus still the best deal in streaming.
All right, in summary. Cool. Jumping off of that, I made it sound like I have a great transition here, but I really don't have a great transition. Do you want to talk a little bit about Hades?
Sure. Hades is a game.
In my head, I was trying to think like, what's a good way I can connect Disney Plus and Hades? And I mean, technically we got Disney's Hercules, which does, deal with Greek mythology a little bit, but stylistically,
I'll give you the way you should have. I'll give you the way you should have connected.
All right, go for it.
The first episode I ever missed of this show, and there's been more since, obviously, was the week I got engaged, or the week I got married.
Right.
And I spent that Wednesday evening sitting on a couch at the resort we were staying at playing Hades, because Hades came out the week I got married. So that would have been your tie-in, is engagement to marriage with Hades. But yeah, Hades.
I don't.
So
for the record, I don't think I could have known about that factoid, to be honest, unless you.
I'm pretty sure I brought it up, but
yeah, it's been a while.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, but that's a deep cut.
Yeah,
it's definitely a deep cut. So I played a bunch of Hades on the Switch, but I felt like the game was kind of limited by the hardware. So when it was announced as coming to Xbox Game Pass, I figured, okay, this is going to be a great opportunity to pick it back up, jump back into this game, start from scratch, and really build my hero the way that I want to, in terms of like the perks that I'm giving them between runs and improving the character through dying a lot. And as good as it was on the Switch, it's even better on the Xbox Series X. It's buttery smooth. I was streaming it the other night, and on the Switch, I'd finish a room, I'd, put the controller down or the handheld, however I was playing it, take a sip of water, check Twitter real quick, and then pick it back up when the room loaded. And I kept doing this thing where I was going to take a sip of water between rooms, and I didn't even have time to grab my cup before the next room had loaded. I'm like, I need a break to take water so I can talk. Like, it was, it's amazing how well this game runs on the Xbox. It's buttery smooth. I haven't noticed any slowdowns, nothing like that. It's as good as you expect it to be. If you have not played Hades anywhere up to this point, because I think up to this point it was only available on the Epic Game Store and on the Nintendo Switch, definitely give it a look on PlayStation or Xbox, especially with it being included with Xbox Game Pass.
I kind of had the same load time issue with Marvel's Avengers, where on PlayStation 4, load times took a real long time. And that actually was something that I started to relish in, because I would use it as an opportunity to check my phone, do a little bit of Japanese lesson, something or other. And then when I upgraded to PlayStation 5, the load times are, I don't want to say non-existent, but they're way faster, which kind of took away that pleasure of the experience.
The fact that they had to build in a button to skip loading screens, which you can do when you're on the next gen version, is just indicative of how well they crafted that next gen experience. And honestly, probably should have been the only version that launched, if you're asking me.
Yeah, probably.
Just because it can run on the Switch doesn't necessarily mean it should. Look at things like Doom Eternal and all that, right? Like, they worked, but are they? I mean, for somebody who might only have the Switch out there, because video game consoles are a very expensive purchase, especially with all the new ones that just came out and everything. Like, if the Switch is your only thing, then
oh, absolutely,
it's a great place to play it, especially a great game like that. But like, sometimes you got to wonder, like, well, no, really,
you got to think, what if we're on a different console? What if T'Challa was Star-Lord? What if Nintendo put out hardware that was half decent?
Yeah, but what if Nintendo put out the Pro model instead of just an OLED model, right?
That being said, that OLED model is pretty.
It's pretty
expensive. Heyo.
Got him indeed.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, last major thing that I wanted to touch on this podcast is that earlier today, myself and Mitch, we both participated in another stream on this here twitch.tv/PressYYZ channel, and also on twitch.tv/Mr. Mitch George, which was us reacting to the Pokemon Presents presentation, which happened at the ungodly hour of 9 a.m. EST.
It was perfect. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
it was a great time for that thing to happen.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the stream, we're actually pretty okay with it, because we both were fully rested and not at all complaining about how early in the morning it was. Absolutely not.
I mean, I'm at a point now. It is 9:00 EST on the dot right now. I have been on camera or on a computer with work for 12 hours. When that includes 3 streams and will include 2 podcasts, because I got to record that episode of Disney Plus Us after this show. It's been a long day, but I'm glad that it started out with Pokemon.
It's been a long day. Don't want to get claimed. Sorry.
Yeah, this
3 seconds, you're probably all right.
The thing about this presentation is that there were no, particularly major Megaton announcements, but it was still a good, fun presentation with good updates to games that desperately were in need of updates. None the least of which were updates to Pokemon Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl. Did I get those right? Is it Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, or is it the reverse?
It's Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. You got them backwards.
Yeah,
I will say we did get some bombshell announcements because the goodest boy in Pokemon history, Growlithe, is getting a new form in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which let's go. Right.
So much so that AJ actually commented on it, which is a rarity.
Yeah. Pokemon Legends Arceus is just by like the trailer that they released today. Pokemon Breath of the Wild, like I've always wanted, like even before Breath of the Wild was a thing. This is kind of like the game I've been dreaming of since, I was a kid. I wanted this kind of like, of course, back when I was, when Pokemon was like first came out and everything, I didn't know how technology worked. I wanted a game like this to be playable on my N64. Like, this is kind of what I envisioned something like Stadium should be. And then when GameCube came out and they brought out, Coliseum and, XD Gale of Darkness or whatever, it's like, it's not the same because it's not the wild Pokemon. It's, you got to catch trainer Pokemon and purify them. And just like, that's not it. And now they're finally kind of doing it. What I'm really curious about is I want to know like the Pokedex, what the Pokedex is going to be going into it, because we know it's just going to be like a good mixture of all the previous generations. But like, is it going to be all of them eventually?
We'll see.
Who knows?
This game, I wouldn't expect it. I feel like
I wouldn't expect it either.
I feel like this is them experimenting with more modern action RPG tropes of, the turn system of using the different styles to either speed up or slow down your attacks, and having benefits and cost benefits to using the different move styles, as well as like the real-time sneaky sneaks on the Pokemon to throw Pokeballs at them, or like you have the choice. This is going back to the conversation about Halo earlier. Player choice is huge. And for decades, Pokemon has had a very specific formula. They did try to shake things up in the GameCube, like you were talking about, with having, all their home console stuff has been a bit of a shakeup. And I feel like this is the Pokemon Company's first, like, shakeup. This is their console game for the Switch. Sword and Shield came out, Let's Go came out. Let's Go was a bit of an experiment. Sword and Shield, very much core Pokemon. It was their handheld release. And now they're trying something different for console. And if you haven't, so we watched the premiere on YouTube, and if you haven't, go back and watch the trailer that they put up on YouTube separate from the presentation, because watching that at 1080-60, like everyone's like, oh, the graphics are like ho-hum. And I agree, some of the textures could use some work, and I'm like, it's never been.
It definitely needs a good
strong suit.
It definitely could use a good pass with like Speed Tree or something. Make it look a little more natural and not hand placed. But
that being said, I actually like the hand placed nature of it, because they're not going for a realistic art style, right? It's Pokemon. So it doesn't need to look like a real tree. Things are looking hand drawn. They have that almost like
to me it just
is it calligraphic a word? It almost looks like calligraphy. Not quite to the level of Okami from Capcom, where that was very heavily inspired by calligraphy in its art style. But there are hints of that here, which for me, it gives them a little more of a pass on some of the things that don't look all that sharp.
That's just me nitpicking, right? Because it's just like the trees look like they've been hand placed, and like there are only as many trees as like the Switch can render. Which, to our previous comment, what if Nintendo put out a like? There's no reason all those trees in a forest should be the exact same height and the exact same shape.
No, right? That's very fair.
That's me. That's just me nitpicking though. Like I'll see right past that when I finally get to like sneak up on that really cute looking Growlithe.
I don't know if you saw, I shared in the Discord earlier what I think is inspiring this Growlithe, because it's a fire rock type. So Macargo and Colossal can go suck a lemon. This is the new best fire rock boy. It seems inspired by the like lion/dog statues you would see outside sanctuaries in Japan. Because it does seem like this is, taking a lot more inspiration from Japanese culture and history as opposed to being like modern. So I think like those statues, similarly to like, think the statues on the palace gates in Mulan, like the original animated Mulan, like that kind of like dog statue. And I think that's what our Arcanine is going to end up looking like. And I can't wait to see it, because that until like honestly, the biggest thing I was surprised by is that neither game got delayed. We're still getting the remakes in November. We're still getting Arceus in January, and that game comes out 2 days before my birthday. So I am taking off the 28th, and I'm going to play that all weekend. Carmen, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I love you, but it's what I want to do for my birthday. I'll play the crap out of that game. I'm going to have a blast, because as someone who is such a fan of Pokemon, I can see, I look past some of the, like, it's the Avengers argument. They're good games. Some of them are great, but I can see past the things that other people don't enjoy about them and just enjoy the core gameplay, the gameplay loop. And from what I've seen of Arceus, that this new loop, it's like Pokemon meets what I enjoyed of Final Fantasy VII, honestly. So I'm for it. I'm looking forward to this, different formula for Pokemon. I hate that people are calling it the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon, because that's not what this is. It's a next step for Pokemon, hopefully, but it's not going to be the Breath of the Wild. Nothing is going to be the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon, because Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece.
We'll get into that. I just want to start off first by saying I've been a little bit silent over the course of the past few minutes, because I was trying to find the specific like art style that you and AJ were referencing earlier in talking about Okami. The art style in question is called ukiyo-e. Particularly when you think about Okami, you think about a lot of these skyboxes in that game. I feel like that art style is especially present there. It's definitely a little bit more subtle in Pokemon Legends Arceus, but definitely when you kind of compare images like this, or like the kind of traditional like Japanese waves image that we're all familiar with, you'll definitely see kind of the comparison. To what you were saying, Mitch, about this game not being Breath of the Wild 2, I think this game will inevitably disappoint people at release. And I think what will disappoint them is the realization that this game is going to be definitely a lot more structured and linear than the likes of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, once you got out of that initial kind of training area, really kind of let you go wherever it is that you wanted to go and do whatever it is that you wanted to do on your trek towards the inevitability that was Ganon's castle. In this game, based on what we've seen in the trailer and what's been described there, it would seem as if where you're going to be able to go next and how far you're going to be able to travel is going to be very kind of restricted and regimented up until you'd imagine a point where you will be able to kind of go anywhere and do anything. But truthfully, like, I actually think that, first off, I have no problem with that. And I actually think that when, all is said and done, I could actually end up liking this game way more than I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. And I think that this kind of structured nature to it is actually what will make me enjoy the game a little bit more. I think that the open-endedness of Breath of the Wild, I think, left me feeling kind of paralyzed at times as to where it is that I need to go and what it is I need to do next. And I think that the more seemingly structured nature of this game is actually going to kind of motivate me to go out there and kind of complete tasks and progress through the game at more of a clip.
I actually feel like it's going to be like, I think there's going to be a lot of hand holding towards the beginning of this game, and it's going to teach you the mechanics, how the gameplay works, and that sort of thing. But I think it's going to be a lot more open-ended than people are expecting, honestly.
Yeah, to be clear,
I feel like there's going to be a core loop, but I think it's going to be pretty much like have at it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I fully expect that, like, eventually, like, by see, the problem with this game, right, is there are no gym leaders, or at least some that we know of thus far, so we can't really use that as a point of comparison.
It seems like your quest is to complete the Pokedex, and that's it.
I'd have to imagine that, like, by the like equivalent of like where you would be in a mainline game of like the third or fourth gym leader, you'll probably have more or less access to most of, if not all of the map. But you're probably correct that they are probably going to be a little bit more handholdy at the beginning, just so that you're fully kind of comfortable with the nature of its world. I'm especially interested in kind of seeing what the mainline Pokemon games take from this game's battle system. They showed off how you have a like more combat focused style and a quick style. I know that they have official names that they went over in the trailer, but they are eluding me at the moment.
Strong style and agile style.
Correct. I'm interested to see if the mainline games take cues from these, because, you know, people have talked for a while now about the Pokemon series getting a facelift, about really kind of fundamentally reworking and rethinking its turn-based battle system. And it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how much people take to this and how much we see it applied going forward.
Could a Pokemon XCOM work?
I mean, we've had a Pokemon strategy game,
right?
Yeah,
Conquest.
in the main line, no.
I think what we might see at this point is kind of a branching, philosophy when it comes to Pokemon. I think in the trailer today they announced that competitive play, which is a big thing for the Pokemon company, competitive play is going to stay in Sword and Shield. That both Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, the remakes, and Arceus are going to get Pokemon Bank support eventually. I have a feeling we're going to see more of these like RPG-esque experiences that aren't quite the core games, but I think the core game, whatever the core game of the year is going to be, I don't think we're going to get a core game next year. I think they're actually going to support these games for a while, and we might get some DLC. And I think there was, I think on the Legends website, there was a note saying that all information presented is not final. Our gameplay is not final. There may be post-game update or post-launch updates to the game, which would lead me to believe that if they're going to update things post-game, then they might add more content post-game or post-launch, that is. And I think that the core Pokemon experience is very much ingrained and won't really change. Maybe they'll add the turn order stuff, but I think by and large they'll want to keep that very grounded in what it's been. I think experiment in these Legends games, get more of these in other regions.
Think, in terms of like turn-based and stuff, I think if they wanted to kind of enhance just the turn-based combat, they could take a little bit more of a D&D route, and like you're rolling for initiative and your speed stat, depending on your roll, your speed stat will increase it, and whatever your roll is, it'll help boost it that way. But so there's a chance that technically the faster Pokemon it is actually has a slower initiative because of reaction time, right? That would be, in my opinion, an interesting way to kind of spruce that up a bit and make it a little more thoughtful in terms of strategy, right? So it'll be interesting to see how these games are received. I think I'm going to really enjoy it. I can't see a world in which I don't enjoy either of these games that we're getting this fall. We haven't really spoke about what they've announced for the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. They had a lot of really interesting stuff they revealed for that, as well as updates to other games. We got a release date for the mobile version of Pokemon Unite. We got announcements that Mamoswine and Sylveon are both coming to Pokemon Unite at some point.
Hell yeah.
The mobile release date being September 22nd.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Boom. Nailed it. Updates to Pokemon Masters EX, which I haven't really thought about since they renamed it to Pokemon Masters EX, because people were tweeting out that because they changed the name, the hashtag to go along with the game is now Pokemon Master Sex. So people were really up in arms about that on Twitter. That was a fun couple of days. Updates to Pokemon Cafe Mix, which I haven't played since launch. No Pokemon Sleep. Where's Pokemon Sleep? Pokemon Sleep is a dream.
Yeah, we've been playing Pokemon Sleep all along. It's what has
And
resided in our
then
hearts since the start of time.
yeah, and then the remakes and Arceus kind of closed out the presentation. I'm really excited for the Gen 4 remakes just because I was talking about this with Cozy earlier. There's so many of the network features that I didn't really get to take full advantage of as a kid because I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Online internet gameplay for systems was pretty nascent, especially for Nintendo. I had to go out and buy a USB dongle to connect my Nintendo DS to the internet.
I think I still have that somewhere in my basement.
I think it's
for
in
the
my parents'
Nintendo
house, and I
Wi-Fi
don't know why I
connection.
have it. Yeah, I don't know why the hell I have it still, or they have it. But
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to doing things like really exploring the underground with people and using the union rooms to do dumb stuff. The Pokeball stickers are coming back to add effects to your Pokemon when they come out of the balls, which is great. Even just looking at this side by side with images from the initial trailer, they've definitely polished it up. It definitely looks a lot nicer. It's a lot less. It was very much in your face with color in that first one. Now it actually looks a lot more natural, the environments. I love the look of the battles now with seeing your character behind, and the battle animations look really nice. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that with Legends Arceus when that comes out in the new year. Contests are back. There's a rhythm game in Pokemon now, so eat your heart out, Melody of Memory. Pokemon's got rhythm too.
and you just had to take the cheap shot, didn't you?
I mean, people take the cheap shot at me about Pokemon all the time. It's time I shot back.
All this stuff, I've been remaining silent for the past couple minutes. All this stuff, honestly sounds really good, looks pretty good. I can't lie and claim that I'm frothing at the mouth to play this game. The original Pokemon Diamond and Pearl games and Pokemon Platinum were games that at the time of their release, I didn't absolutely love, but I kind of came to love and look back on fondly in retrospect over time. And I think I was just kind of expecting there to be a little bit more to these remakes other than just sort of revamping what we previously enjoyed. That being said, and I did say this also in the presentation as well, like at the very least, I was hoping that these games would take all the kind of various little quality of life improvements and just little things that Pokemon Sword and Shield did to make the experience of catching all the Pokemons feel that much more fluid and speedy. And you'd have to imagine that this game is going to provide that and then some. So on that basis, like, I don't really have anything to complain about, but I also don't really have anything that I'm feel the need to shout from the roof about.
Yeah, I'm reserving any criticisms for the game for when they come out, because I know this game was probably in production well before Pokemon Sword and Shield were released, because they outsourced it to an external developer who they have worked with on the past. It's the developer behind Pokemon Home. But I do think that with it being this developer's first foray into a Pokemon RPG, that what we're going to see is a very, like, it's not going to be a one-to-one remake. It never was going to be, but I think we're not going to see them taking those quality of life things that we saw in Sword and Shield and bringing them here, because it's going to be harder for them to do that with it being their first rodeo in the Pokemon world with a full RPG. I do hope that and that was actually kind of why I was hoping there was going to be a delay, so that they could take a lot more of that and implement it in the game. But with that being said, I still feel like these are going to come out, be a faithful remake, and they're still going to be a ton of fun, and will be a nice stopgap from November to January until I go and lose myself in Pokemon Legends Arceus.
I'm definitely gonna play this game, like, no matter what happens, but I think this will be one of those instances where I'm gonna read the reviews ahead of time, and depending on how hot people are on the game, I'll either pick it up sooner or later.
I've already pre-ordered both.
Wow, both?
Oh yeah.
Are you
the minute they were up on the eShop, I pre-ordered.
Are you
both.
the kind of guy that, like, alternates between the two, like plays one or the other? Do you beat one game and then start the other, or do you, like,
Oh no, I meant like I
one hand.
pre-ordered one of the Gen 4 remakes, and then I pre-ordered Arceus.
Oh,
is what I
got
meant.
it. Got it. Okay.
No,
that
my
makes
sister's gonna get Pearl,
sense.
so I picked up Diamond, and then I pre-ordered Arceus as well.
Makes perfect sense. I did want to mention earlier, you talked about, not being able to experience a lot of the connectivity features in the original version of Diamond and Pearl. On the presentation, I talked a little bit about how, I had the same experience. I had to go to a dippener down the street from where I lived to connect to Wi-Fi to access things like the global trade station, which back in the day, AJ, allowed you to connect and trade with people over the internet, if you can believe such a concept.
What is that? I don't understand.
Yeah, truly groundbreaking and innovative. In addition to that, though, we did get the Nintendo USB Wi-Fi dongle so that I could connect to the internet with that as well. But we discovered, unfortunately, after purchasing it, that it was not compatible with the version of Windows on my parents' computer. However,
Oh no.
it was compatible with the version of Windows on my grandparents' computer. And so we ended up installing it at their house. And there were more than a few instances for a couple of years where I would take my DS, or I would take my entire Wii over to their house and hook it up to a TV there and download games from the virtual console or connect to the GTS. I'm pretty sure the first game that I downloaded for the Wii from the virtual console was Paper Mario, and I'm pretty certain it was one of those instances where I just lugged the whole console to their house and waited an hour because their Wi-Fi wasn't super fast to begin with. Waited an hour for that N64 goodness to download. Just a little cozy anecdote to soothe the mended soul. Soothe the mended soul. That doesn't make sense. The soul's already mended in this case.
The unsoothed soul.
Mend the fractured soul is what I should have said.
Sure.
Close enough.
Yeah. Whew. Well, that was a lot of Pokemon talk. I do also want to mention very briefly that I did take part in Pokemon Go Fest 2021. This was quite a few weeks ago now, by the way. It was probably around the same time that I beat Halo 2. It was fun, but it was disappointing because on the second day of Go Fest, Hoopa made sort of a cameo appearance. Hoopa being the genie Pokemon, AJ, that can conjure golden rings that it can use to transport Pokemon across time and space. And myself and many other people assumed that this was going to lead to a special mission where we could capture Hoopa, but alas, Hoopa remains elusive. But for now, certainly we'll be able to capture Hoopa at some point in the future.
I mean, they announced today some of the stuff coming to Pokemon Go, and Hoopa was involved with that announcement, so
right.
I imagine it's coming sooner than you'd think.
Hoopa is inevitable, much like Thanos. I mean, actually, you look at Hoopa, you look at Thanos, kind of a lot of similar motifs, right? You have characters that can teleport across time and space. They're kind of purple and bluish colored. They both have a magical item that's gold. What do you think? No, I get the sense.
One was a genocidal
really...
maniac, and the other one is an animated creature from a children's video game.
In the movie, the Pokemon movie where Hoopa appears, he summons 20 legendary Pokemon, including a shiny Rayquaza, to kill everyone. Though, I mean, that's kind of similar.
Still small potatoes compared to Thanos wiping out half the universe with a snap.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Avengers: Infinity War if you haven't seen that 4 years after it came out. Yeah. Also, you have to expect this from me. I will spoil things that are related to Disney, so go see them before I can spoil it for you.
Yeah, no streaming on Disney+.
Pay your tickets to Shang-Chi if you're comfortable going to the theaters right now.
All right. Any other things that we wanted to bring up this evening before we wrap up the show?
Nah, I'm good to go.
All right, then. Well, thank you to everybody for tuning in to Press YYZ. If you enjoy this broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Twitter at PressYYZ and slide into our Discord at invite.gg/PressYYZ to keep the conversation going. Until next time, we're going to thank you for playing and go ahead and give someone the big fat raid. Till next time.